Today, we're spotlighting an event that's more than just a conference. It's a movement.
We're talking about the Consumer Impact Summit happening September 16th through the 18th in Bentonville, Arkansas, a town that's become a hub for global retail and consumer innovation. So what's a theme? Blending business and social impact. This is where sustainability meets scale, where ethical products go mainstream, and where logistics folks like us can help make it all happen.
All right, Brian, tell us a little bit about this consumer impact, as we just said, is coming up in September. Tell us a little bit about why Northwest Arkansas.
Purpose-driven companies are companies that have set themselves up from their inception to try to do good in the world while doing well in business. And of course, one has to do well in business in order to have the opportunity of doing good in the world. So the kind of companies that an event like this includes, the ones people would recognize, the big ones are companies like Cabot Creamery, Danone, Mondelez, and then some really interesting Northwest Arkansas companies like Hillfolk is a company that provides crafting kits that are sold at retail. There's Onyx, which is of course, a chain of coffee shops. Onyx B Corporation, and many of the companies involved are B corporations, that is, companies that are certified by the Independent B Lab as having the most positive possible impacts on people and on the environment. And yeah, I think it's going to be a real great event. We chose Northwest Arkansas because one of the things we perceived as missing in some of these discussions of purpose-driven business is the necessity of being successful in those businesses. All of the many operational challenges that every business person faces, overlaid by the challenges of having the best possible environmental and social impacts.
This event is your chance to plug into something bigger than business as usual. And there's no better place than Bentonville, Arkansas, where global retail meets local innovation. We'll be there, and we hope that you will too. Mark your calendars, September 16th through the 18th. Learn more and register at consumerimpactsummit.com. Let's help build a future where doing good is good business. See you in Bentonville. Welcome to Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. I'm Kevin Parkerson.
And I'm Kevin Higgins. Together we bring you over 60 years in combined experience in global logistics.
In each episode, we'll dive into the latest industry trends, share practical tips, celebrate wins, and share stories from the logistics front lines, all while helping businesses optimize their logistics operations. Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is what is this, Higgins? The first week of September. Fall's not here, but it is definitely cooler in Northwest Arkansas, which unseasonably cooler, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. It has gotten a lot cooler, a lot quicker this year than I remember it. And let's see, it is the first week of September. This is the week that my daughter was born 33 years ago. She has a birthday on Friday.
Yeah, I was just mentioning that to my wife. I thought this was my daughter's turns the big 3-0 in a couple of weeks, but I remember yours is always right before my daughter's. So
yeah,
September
she was actually due today, September 3rd. We're recording this. She was actually due today, and she was 2 days late. Came on Saturday of Labor Day weekend.
I saw all the stats on how many babies are born in the month of September. September is the most popular month, and everybody, I think, probably knows why. It's 9 months from before is right around the holidays, New Year's. So Happy New Year. But anyway, That's awesome. Well, listen, hey, also something going on in Northwest Arkansas outside the weather. You and I attended an event at Bentonville High
Yep.
School.
Yep.
It didn't feel like Bentonville High School. It felt like
No.
Antarctica. It was extremely
It was so
cold.
freaking cold.
You and I were griping and complaining about how
Yeah.
cold it was,
Yeah.
but it was a phenomenal event. It really was, it was to highlight and spotlight the new upcoming supply chain organization club. I'm not sure what the right branding is at one of the high schools, Bentonville West. But it was put on by Plug and Play and CSCMP, and it was a great event.
Yeah, it was a great event, despite it being sub-zero in there. I thought it was a really nice event, wonderful auditorium. It was encouraging to see, like, the high school actually, it appears to have like a supply chain track for students to kind of follow.
Would you have taken that in high school if you were offered that?
No, not in 1983. What?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's really interesting, and I'm really pleased to see that the high school is dedicating something toward supply chain.
Yeah, and I was stoked that Plug and Play Supply Chain was a sponsor of CSCMP. The Ozark Roundtable was putting it on, and they invited us up there, which was awesome. And I hope that we continue to get those types of invitations. And the students, I can't believe you and I sat there and we look at each other, some of the questions that we're asking, comments that were made, and I can't believe those kids are in high school. I'm so impressed.
These were 16, 17, 18-year-olds that were blowing me away with not just the questions, but how they conducted themselves and how they interacted with old professionals like us and the two gentlemen in the debate on the panel.
Yeah,
it was just fascinating to me that the students were that engaged.
Well thought out questions, very articulate. I can't even imagine. I wasn't anywhere close to that when I was their age. So very, very impressed. And, a couple of the things that we've been involved in here recently, I judged a hackathon and met a bunch of high school students and have stayed in touch with a couple of them, and just so impressed with their knowledge and their desire and to make a difference in the world, not just in the tech space or supply chain space, but to actually make a difference in the world. So getting involved in these events has been a real treasure for me.
Yeah, no, it was a phenomenal event. And so on that topic, Higgins, what is your take on build or buy, in as few words as possible? How would you weigh in on that topic? You've had a lot of experience in building, but in your perspective right now, and based on what you heard at that event, build or buy?
I think it's a combination. It really depends on your needs and what's available. And if there's something that fits your workflow and your processes that you can buy off of the shelf without a lot of modifications, then there's a value to that. Building, especially if you're building, if you have this vision or this dream that you need to fill this process void, and nothing like that exists, then obviously you have to build. But I think that we're entering a phase, and I can speak specifically about it. We're entering a phase in the logistics software world where you can buy and build with what you buy. So there's things out there from a no code perspective, and we're doing some of that right now in my space. I think you just have to look at what your needs are and get it. You have to make the most logical decision. Sometimes building is so expensive and takes so long, and you can go out and get something done a lot faster and a lot less expensive if you'll just look outside.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, to sum that up, what I heard, it's really not black and white,
It's
right?
not. Yeah.
It's about strategy, and it's about balance, and it's about timing. It's all about that. So, but it's great dialogue. I was really pleased to see that was the topic that they, decided to approach, because I think it's very relevant. especially, like you said, in your world today, definitely in my world, as I am consulting and I talk to these small and medium sized businesses, that's a critical, need and a
Yeah.
question that they have. Do I build it, or do I just go buy it?
Yeah.
And it is that decision is very customizable, based on a lot of factors,
Yeah. And
and
I
a
would say to
balance.
anybody who's listening to this right now, if you have those questions,
Anybody, everybody's listening to it.
everybody that's listening, if you're having those debates and discussions and need something, then you need to give Parkerson and I a call. There's some really cool stuff going on in my world that we can launch quickly, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that soon, but I don't want to get into a promotion on that yet.
No, that's great. I agree. Well, listen, I know we've got a really good lineup, but one other thing, when we talk about the industry, what's going on, I'd love to get your take on. This is a critical time with rates are starting to slide, blank sailings, indexes are screaming. How do you feel, and what's your take on when spot rates start getting below contract rates? That's something that, as I advise clients, is a very, very hot topic. This time, it's interesting that it's happening at this time of the year, in September, October,
Yeah.
fall peak season. But what's your take, your experience that you've had with that?
Is a very that's a tough one. It's a fine line. I'd be interested to get your point of view on that. But my personal perspective is unless you made a strategic decision to play the spot market rate early in the year and you were upfront with your ocean carriers that you were going to contract a certain amount of your volume to committed contracts and then play the spot market on the other side. If you're not playing the spot market now, then you have to fulfill your contracts first. You got to take care of your contracts first because you made those commitments to your ocean carriers, and that's first and foremost. This goes back to the relationship, and I'll just continue to harp on that. But you got to take care of your contracts. You made those commitments, and if you've got some volume that you can play in the spot market, then play the spot market. But we could have an entire 10-part episode on how I feel about rates going up and down throughout the course of 12 months. But you got to continue to foster your relationships. And if you've got volume that you set aside for spot rates, then, then you can do it, but don't go down and don't go drive your contracts down because of the spot market is going down. You made those commitments, and I'm just a believer you need to fulfill them.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's about balance. And with everything that you said, I'm hopeful that, the BCOs that are listening, that it is about balance. It's not one size fits all with that
Yeah.
approach. I think what you described is something very similar as I'm talking to clients about having a set part of the business that you can play in the spot market and being
Yeah.
smart and strategic about how you do that and when you do that. And the biggest part that I share is really on the relationship side and fulfilling your commitments and understanding what that means and
100%.
partnering with the right provider that is aligned in that philosophy. And some
Yeah.
are, and some maybe not as much as others. But understanding and knowing that can help you navigate to know how to act and how to react. In this environment when the spot
Yeah.
rates are very, very enticing, for everyone
Yeah.
trying to save money, a penny counts. And when you start seeing spot rates get as low as they are right now, you have to start thinking about the competitiveness. So it's an
Yeah.
interesting concept. You and I have dealt with it a lot of times in the roller coasters of the last couple of decades of rates, spot rates, and going below contract rates. So
Yeah.
again, I think we can help with that. We can share some of our insight and help put together a strategy on how to approach that.
Yeah. Conversations with your service providers are key. Partnerships, relationships.
Having the right one so that you can have
Yeah.
that conversation, right? So
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And we need to continue to talk about that. So thanks for bringing that up. But I think right now we need to take a pause and get into our Customs Quick Tip, sponsored by Harry F. Long, brought to you by Heather Rush.
Ever wonder what happens to your shipment when it hits the U.S. shores? Welcome to today's Custom Quick Tips, brought to you by Harry F. Long. I'm Heather Rush, and today we're breaking down the CBP entry process in just a few minutes. So let's get started. When your goods arrive in the U.S., they go through the CBP entry process. That's how U.S. Customs and Border Protection ensures everything's compliant before your goods hit the market. It can be very complex, but let's take a look at the main areas involved. First, every shipment needs an entry filed with the CBP. This is where you declare what you're importing, its value, and where it comes from, or its country of origin. For this, you'll need key documents such as the commercial invoice, bill of lading, and an entry summary form, also known as a CBP 7501. But this may not be all that is needed. Some goods, such as food, drugs, or electronics, may require additional filings with partner government agencies, also known as PGAs, such as the FDA or EPA. Missing these filings for PGAs can halt your shipment, so it's critical to know what applies. Second, you need to classify your goods using Harmonized System or HS codes. These codes determine the duty and taxes you pay on your goods. For example, importing sneakers versus sandals will likely mean a different rate. Getting it wrong or missing a PGA requirement can be costly, so precision is key. And finally, timing matters. CBP requires entries to be filed within 15 days of arrival. However, waiting that long can lead to storage fees. A good customs broker files early and accurately to keep your supply chain moving. So how can an importer prepare for a smooth entry? Start by gathering accurate documentation before your goods have even left your supplier. Ensure that invoices include detailed product description, values, and country of origin. Verify your HS codes. And also confirm whether your goods require PGA approvals and start those as early in advance as possible. At Harry F. Long, we handle the paperwork, verify HS codes, coordinate PGA filings to ensure our clients' entries run smoothly through CBP. Whether you're importing electronics or apparel, we've got your back. So that's the quick guide on the CBP entry process. Don't let customs slow you down. Visit us today at harryflong.com and get your customs compliance checklist to help you simplify your import process. Join us again next time for more customs quick tips.
All right. Thanks for that, Heather. Always good to hear from you and always great tips. If anybody needs any assistance in regards to the current environment of trade, compliance, tariffs, all of that customs issues, which I know everyone is experiencing that, make sure you reach out to Heather. Visit harryflong.com. There's also a free checklist on customs compliance. Go and grab that and then reach out to Heather if you need any other assistance. So thanks again, Heather.
Appreciate you, Heather. And I know you are as equally excited as I am about part two of our conversation with Stuart Sandlin.
Yeah, this is a great one. You know, we chased Stuart for
long time
this year. He's a busy guy, but we were really excited to get him. And when we did, we talked a long time. So we made this a two-part series, the back half. So last week, he just shared a lot of his philosophy and leadership and in his career. Part two is more specifically about the partnership, Gemini, Maersk, and Hapag. So I'm really excited for the audience to hear this and peel back the layers of this partnership and get some of the insights from him. So this is a really good one. how does this shipping power couple come together? Hapag and Maersk.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting to point out because I just need to be super clear because there was some confusion on the Hill and in DC as well. We're not coming together.
Okay.
We're still two distinct competing companies. We have separate balance sheets, and so while it is a cooperation, it is a cooperation, not a corporation. And I
Right.
think that this is an important thing because a lot of people were thinking, "Oh, why are you merging with them?" We're not merging. We two separate companies. We're sharing space, and we have the cooperation.
Okay.
The key is, Kevin, is that I think we looked at it and we mutually and independently saw that there has to be a better way, that for our industry to deliver at 50% reliability is not, that can't be good. That cannot be what good looks like. And it's really nice to find a partner who equally sees that quality is a differentiator. And as an enabler of our customer supply chains, it's very important that we have something that's reliable and predictable. We talked earlier about having uncertainty. We needed the container movement from point A to point B to be more certain than it was then. And when you have multiple partners on an alliance, that's a little bit more challenging because you have to have similar focus on what is quality and what do our customers need. So we found it super compelling that Maersk was able to focus and agree on the quality, and we are pretty aligned in that. Our Northern European corporate cultures are very similar, which also helps kind of quick problem resolution. It helps move things quickly through the system in case you ever need those components. And if you look, I think 5 months in, we have proof of concept now. We know it works. We see it working, not without some hiccups. We've had some challenges, but I really love it. And to your point, it's a major shift. I love the fact that we are on the leading edge of this. And I think that we will set the new standard in that. And what is reliability? I think other people will have to figure out how they are also going to become more reliable, because I believe that this is going to become the new minimum expectation from our customers. So I like it. I think it's really a component. And honestly, it doesn't take very creative minds to see every other supply chain or mode of transportation operates on a hub and spoke. Passenger, cargo, everybody is hub and spoke. I mean, there's a reason you have a regional distribution center and then a local distribution center, because hub and spoke, it's all about doing that in the milk runs. And if you look super candidly, if you look at Gemini, we're able to move more cargo with the same amount of steel in the water. We just better utilize our assets by having the hub and spoke concept.
Yeah. And that's a good, thanks for that explanation. Let's take it into the context of like the first date. Take us back. Who made the first move in this partnership? Was it a slow courtship? Was it a whirlwind romance? What was it?
I mean, I think that both of us were kind of, I don't know who swiped right first, but
I was going to use that one. You stole that, but yeah. Who was swiping?
But I mean, to be clear, I'm hoping, I don't know whether swipe right is good or bad.
Good answer, Stuart. Good answer.
but you know, I think if you're sitting here and you're looking at kind of what does the partnership look like, I think we both kind of knew that time for change was coming. We had already kind of seen an opportunity to improve there, and it worked out. We worked for a very, 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 very long time. I mean, it was a year between the time when we started talking until the time we announced, and then another year until we implemented. I mean, it was a long time, not only in courtship. I mean, I think ideally you can ideate the concept and come to a commonality pretty quickly. But the concept of moving ships and designing networks and understanding, can we drive the density through our own hubs and through our own terminals or owned or selectively contracted assets? Can we do it with the fleet? Can we do it with the ships we have? Are we aligned in theory and principle? And the answer was pretty quickly yes. And then you just got to start to work out some of the details to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw this in here now. How much did corporate culture play into this agreement, into this alliance agreement?
the focus on the quality, Higgins, was probably more relevant, that we had mutual commitment to the quality component of on-time delivery and delivering a quality product. There's definitely a corporate culture aspect that it just makes it easier to get along. It just makes it easier when you have less parties and similar cultures. It's easier to come to problem resolution because you can just get straight to the meat of the matter, because you both communicate in the same way. And if people communicate in different ways because of cultural nuances, that I think doesn't make it any easier. So, yeah.
You just have, you have similar, you guys are looking at things, because I'm just looking at it, thinking about it from my perspective. If I'm going to go into some type of relationship, whether it's a business relationship or otherwise, having those values, if you will, one of those values being around quality, and how you manage that and your ability to be able to communicate around those, I would imagine is incredibly important. And I'm not saying that the other companies, their cultures are bad or anything else like that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you have like-minded views of quality and service and these components that are important in this alliance.
Yeah,
I think it's super good. And I really love that we were able to embed that actually into the cooperation agreement, so that not only have we said it, we've formalized it into a structured way, so that we're both equally committed now, both in the agreement and financially incentivized to be myopically focused on that quality delivery.
Yeah.
Which is really nice, because if you have an alliance member that has less of a focus on on-time arrival than another alliance member has, because of the way those arrangements work, that doesn't work out so well. One party ends up bearing the share of the cost, and then the other services is not delivering on time. And I think that's not so great. So it's been good, and I like that we have it. We also have quick escalation within the groups, so that we know exactly where the partners lie and how you resolve it, because we have some ideas on how quickly we need to overcome those challenges. Because you got to be nimble in these settings, and things happen. And that's also been good in the component, because as you go and you set it up, we spent so much time planning. But the first thing I learned in graduate school, in engineering grad school, about the forecast. Number one rule of forecasting: forecast is always wrong. Second rule of forecasting: the further out the forecast goes, the more wrong it is.
Yeah.
And I think that this was something that we really, we had our models, and our models were great, and our models got us 80% of the way there. The models we modeled to 100%, but the models were 80% correct. And then you've got to make some adjustments and tweak the things that you didn't get right in the model. And I think that's where we're at now, that those tweaks are really coming into being. And I think as we continue to focus on those components, we can continue to drive some efficiency.
Yeah, Stuart, I think you kind of answered my next question that I really have. But, Maersk and Hapag are two powerful forces. So how do you maintain Hapag's identity and customer-centric culture within this new framework?
So maybe I could talk first about our global view, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in North America. So on the global view, I think we've been very clear. We started in 2017 with a strategy 2023, where we said we want to be number one for quality. And it's the first time we had ever really captured those service-based metrics. And then we published those service-based metrics. And every customer could go in and see how we were delivering on our promise. We said we want to give you a booking in 2 hours. We want to resolve all of your issues in 4 hours. And that worked out well, because that was our strategy, to be number one for quality. And I think it's still I know it's still the case today. Let me just clarify that. That is our goal, is to be number one for quality, and we think we can differentiate. Maersk's strategy, as I know it, I'm not from Maersk, but I think that their goal is an integrated supply chain, and that's where they're keenly focused. So maintaining our identity is not as difficult as you might think. It's about the service and about how we deliver that. And globally, now as we've done our strategy 2030, we're still looking to be number one for quality, and we want to differentiate on quality, because we think that this is similar to what I mentioned earlier, like culture. I think this is a competitive, sustainable advantage. In North America, I've worked very hard to remove conflicting KPIs, so that sales would point at customer service and customer service would point at sales, is the reason why they were having trouble achieving their metrics.
Yeah.
And now we remove that and we created one metric. I often ask the team, who wins the game, offense or defense? They both win the game. And when the defense has a stop, offense is on the sideline cheering like crazy. And when offense scores a big offensive play or score or touchdown, whatever game you're talking, the defense is cheering like crazy because the goal is to win the game. So we created customer clusters inside of our world that has contracting, it has sales, it has customer service, it has accounts receivable, it has disputes, and they all together own a small group of customers. And they all share the same metric. Accounts receivable has volume and revenue goals. Customer service has cash flow goals. Disputes has customer service goals. They all share the same goals. That's in their global annual review process. And then they get paid as a team or they lose as a team. They win as a team or they fail as a team. And it's based on the customer experience. So by creating these customer clusters, we've removed the conflicting KPIs and instead created aligned and shared goals where we move together as a team. The other benefit for me is we create a microcosm of learning. So we can say, this team is really excelling at they have less disputes than anybody else. What are they doing and how do we learn from that? This team has the worst cash flow of any team. What are they doing? Do we need more training? Is it somewhere else in the structure? So we can create a microcosm to learn and develop on ourselves because of our customer cluster teams and how many of those we have. It's a little different than your question, Parkerson, and I'm sorry for that, but I think that's how we maintain our identity. We want multi-level selling and multi-level connections. So we literally have mapped out who's at each level in each of the companies.
Yeah.
On customer service side, on sales side, where am I?
Yeah. Thanks for that explanation.
Awesome.
That definitely is helpful. So in the context of a prenup, let's talk structure, so like how's the responsibility split across things like network planning and systems and operations in this type of cooperation?
I mean, Parkerson, you seem to be focused on swiping right, prenups. I don't really know what's going on for you, buddy.
I got more.
So we need to talk to Bev.
Just wait.
I got to be honest. I don't know here, Kevin. We each have a voice in this agreement. It's an equal voice in the agreement. That was important for us so that we can do it. The network planning is designed very collaboratively. We have network guys, they have network guys, and that works. We did have to give, we didn't have to give. We agreed that we need one real owner of the shuttles because we don't really want to have two people operating shuttles in the same thing because then that gets very complex. So we made that change so that a lot of the shuttles are being driven by the Maersk network. We also went with the homogeneous fleet. So if it's a Hapag main line, then we try to make sure all the vessels in that thing are Hapag main line. So we can just run the main line, and that's controlled within the Hapag world, or it's controlled within the Maersk world. It's not controlled within the Maersk and the Hapag world. So, but from system side, we all maintain our own individual systems. We all have our own system. There's no cross joining of system. And as it relates to the U.S., you can't joint procure either. So it's two separate aspects. It's just the way that we end up working together inside of our cooperation, which is it's a partnership. And while we signed it only for a defined period of time, our expectation is that we don't see this breaking up. We see this going on for forever. So even though you have a prenup, hopefully you're not going into it saying, I can't wait to use the prenup.
Well, yeah. In every partnership, you gotta meet the family, right? So what's been the reaction of customers, long-term partners that you mentioned before? Any initial pushback, confusion?
Our biggest risk was that a customer would want more diversity across their carrier mix, that they wouldn't want to give Hapag-Lloyd and Maersk too big of a share of wallet and have it on one ship. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. That does not seem to be a problem. That was initially concerned, and we were concerned about that. It has not turned to be a case. I know one large customer who moves big volumes with both of us, and they're already looking to give both of us even more next year. So I think that those kind of components are very are very relevant and meaningful. When I look towards the customer feedback, we have customers that want to give us more. We turned away customers this year because we didn't have enough space. People want what we're offering and they want to explore the option, and they've started to correlate 90% on-time reliability equals lower inventory required, which equals lower inventory carrying cost, which means paying $100 premium, $200 premium is an achievable goal, and they still come out much on the better side if they do that. So I would say the market feedback has been very, very, very strong and very favorable and very positive. If you look towards when the tariffs were announced and everybody started blanking, Gemini didn't blank. We decreased the size of our vessels slightly to try to make that work, but we didn't blank. And the number of customers that came and said, that enables us to manage our supply chain, to which I very quickly reply, well, make sure you give me enough that I don't need to blank. Because if my ship hits 70, if my ship hits 70% utilization, we're going to have to start to change something. But right now, we're trying everything we can do to provide a predictable and reliable service. And I think that this is a differentiator. So I like the fact that we're moving in that direction. And I like the fact that the customers are very excited about it. We had customers that we did not know that come and say, hey, you don't know me, but I'd really like to talk to you. I mean, I think it's a very positive thing.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, and you mentioned, a few minutes ago, that this partnership, this cooperation is really meant to be longer term. So in the context of what I heard was you're trying to avoid the status of it's complicated, right? So how is Gemini different from some of these other alliances that we've seen before, like the 2M and the Alliance? What's being done to kind of avoid some of those problems?
I mean, I think our myopic focus on quality already helps us there. KP, I think that's really important for me. And I think that being aligned on that automatically removes part of the stress, because we already know that we're delivering things and we're better together than we are apart. And we already know that. And so we feel that. I think the fact that we're taking quick iterations and quick steps, that helps. As I like to say, I'm not worried when we're talking, I'm worried when we're not talking. And in this case, we're talking a lot. Because we got to know how the move counts are looking. We got to know what the terminals are looking like. We got to know what the crane intensity looks like. And we track it. I mean, we as a leadership team track it every week. As a leadership team and the executive committee, I mean, we are looking every week at what it looks like. What does our dwell look like? What is our crane intensity? Are our ships coming in on time and getting out on time? I mean, we are really focused on the operational component, which we haven't done historically as much in this industry. And, the other feedback that we had heard from the market, which we focus on as well, is if people have the choice of going with direct or transshipment, why wouldn't they go direct? And my loud answer, which resonates, is how many times did your Amazon box go from DC to DC? And do you want it to go on less trucks? And the answer is you don't care, because it got here yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, as long as it gets there on time and it's reliable every time, you don't care what happens in the inner workings. Just get it here when you tell me you're going to get it here. Make it competitive, transit time, make it competitive cost, and reliable. I'm good with whatever you do. If it goes 10 times, who cares? If I get here quicker and on time, reliable, I'm good. What do you all hear? I mean, you all talk to a lot of people. Y'all are super plugged in. You both have deep knowledge in the BCO space. What's your thought?
Higgins?
KP, you want to start? Oh, you want me to go? I'll go. I don't mind going at all. KP is a lot closer to the BCOs nowadays than I am. I'm starting to get back into that space again. But, for me, it is back to the relationships, as you were talking about before, and people starting to see the importance of those relationships and understanding their business to a greater degree, because they got so wrapped up in the procurement process, and I need to be on the direct vessel, and I can't do this and I can't do that, or I want this. But I love your analogy of the Amazon package, right? Because people don't even care. They don't even know. They order it, it shows up. They don't know the order number. They don't know how many transshipment points it went through, because the reliability and the cost that they, that they assumed was accurate. So I'm starting to see some of the BCOs get back into that relationship, that customer of choice mentality, and so I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by that. Kind of was back part of your question, but I agree with you 100%. You know, your explanation was spot on as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I just love the focus on reliability. I can't tell you how much, that has been a thorn coming from the BCO side, how important that is and how it has a cascading implications that affect everything, primarily cost and obviously service. So I just love the focus on the reliability piece of it.
Well, it's good. And, I think that the litmus test for me is what the market really says. And so far, I think it's got a strong showing.
Yeah.
It's got a strong showing.
I think so too. I have not heard, usually you hear a lot of negative rumblings around alliances and things like that, after they take off and when they go. Honestly, I haven't heard anything negative on my side, KP, from the market relative to this alliance at all.
No, again, I think it is relatively early, obviously.
Yeah.
6 months in. I think getting a full year under the belt will be ultra critical, especially in today's ever changing environment. But I want to get back to a little bit of kind of the mantra that I'm going with. So, what would the dating profile say if Gemini had a tagline for shippers? Would it be, we're not just another alliance? Would it be built for reliability? And here it is, drum roll, swipe right for better lead times. What would the tagline be for Gemini? I worked long and hard on that.
Welcome to the podcast, Stuart.
This is not the direction I anticipated it going. I would say your cargo, our promise.
Oh, geez, I love that.
Yeah, that's good, Stuart. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't know whether swiping right or swiping left is the correct option.
I don't either. Higgins, what is it?
Swipe right.
So again, I hope that in a year we can ask our customers what would the tagline be.
Yeah,
you are reading my notes, so I was here. I'm following the mantra. Honeymoon. Is there a honeymoon in 2026? And where do you hope the partnership, a year in, really goes? What does success look like for Gemini, personally and professionally?
So I would say, number one, maybe I'm going to answer my own question because I don't think a lawyer asks a question that he doesn't already know the answer to, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to try anyway. I would say, from a customer perspective, I hope their tagline is partners for life. Because that's really what I want. I want longer term deals that are driven on partnerships and value creation. And if we have strengths, then let's talk about strengths. If we have weaknesses, let's talk about weaknesses, and let's do them both vulnerably. Because I think vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. So that's number one. Vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. So if I think about what does it look like for me, I hope that I can continue to find more people that are willing to recognize the value that reliability brings and are willing to help support that with a slight premium above the market. I'm not talking doubling the rates. I don't need that. I mean, I'd like that, but I don't think I need that. But I think if you can just say, you know what, being 90% on time is worth this extra little bit. And this year's procurement cycle, I had a customer who said, but you're $200 higher than your competitors. And I said, yes, but my product is better than my competitors. And they go, well, we don't even know that yet. You've only been doing it for 2 months. And I said, but it is. And then we agreed that we would agree to the lower rate. And after 2 months of on-time reliability, I want this $200 premium. And they said, okay. And then sure enough, we did it and we delivered, but that was a lean in. I was asking them to pay for something before they saw the value. And then I said, but after you see the value, I think I deserve to get paid. And they were willing and leaned in on that. And that comes back into the partnership. They said, I can't pay for something I don't see. I can't take you at your word. So,
and that's putting your money where your mouth is. That's not just saying, trust me. That's saying, let me prove to you so you will trust me.
Yeah.
And I
That's good, Higgins. That's good.
freaking love that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
you
That
do.
makes me feel good.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think, I mean, we haven't talked a whole lot recently, but I would say I think we're winning right now.
Yeah.
I mean, our service experience is better. We're tracking it a lot. We're focused on it. I just had a town hall earlier today. We talked about that as well. And when we talked about the need for us to all have a fire in the belly and the customer's problem is our problem, I talked about the fact that there's a quote from a particular football coach that says, mediocre performers don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre performers.
Yep.
And I really challenge which one are you? Which one are each of you? And you know what? The thing about getting stronger, the thing about working out is you got to work out every day. You got to be consistent and you got to challenge yourself to do more. So I've really been very clear on how are we working to do more with every day? How do you do better today than you did yesterday? What is that wow moment? How do you make sure that customer knows that you are passionate about solving their problem?
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. Just that mentality reminded me, it gets me, start thinking about like late 90s when we were growing exponentially at Walmart. And there was a couple of carriers that were just like, let me prove to you that we can provide this value. And they took a chance on us. And then we proved to them with the cargo, and they proved to us with their service and the rate. And they went from zero volume in the early 90s to 100,000, containers a year. Ultimately. So, I mean,
sorry, Stuart, I wasn't Hapag. Sorry. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I wasn't a Hapag then either. It's okay for me. I'm good.
Some people listening were in grade school while that was going on. But anyway, it just reminded me of like that mentality is, and I love that. I love to hear that passion and like, oh, we'll prove it to you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So Stuart, do you think other carriers or your exes are watching, and considering these type of alliances, or are we kind of at a start of a new era when it comes to ocean carrier collaborations? What's your take on that?
I think that Gemini will be very, very, very difficult to copy. And the reason why is because the hub and spoke concept, you have to have control of all three legs. You have to have the milk runs that can do the pickups. You got to have the hub and the terminal in this case, and then you got to have the trunk line to get out. And I think that the terminal is becoming what I would say is the next battlefield. And you already see that now in that tangential service of kind of how much value does it create to really own and operate a terminal, and how do you actually leverage that to ensure that your liner space is actually operating at peak efficiency and on time and reliable. So I think it's going to be very difficult. But again, like I said at the start, I don't see a world where people aren't being challenged to improve their on-time reliability and predictability, because managing supply chain without predictability is incredibly difficult, and it results in increased costs due to the inefficiency of the supply chain due to the buffer stock. So I do think there's changes coming, Kevin, but I don't think that it's not going to be a plug and play. I think that people are going to have to think outside of the box and say, how do we do this better? If you look at some of the smaller carriers, maybe they have some of the solutions. There are some super small carriers that have four ships, and they're 100% on time. They take the Southwest model. They sail from non-congested, small, off mainline ports, so that keeps their costs down. They have four ships, so there's no variability. They're just doom. 4 ships, 4 ports, and you know what? That's what it is. But as such, and then they double down on service. The service from those guys is super, super, super good. I mean, personalized service. It's a great service. And maybe that'll be a way of the future. I think those guys have a different product than what I offer.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks so much for sharing, what you've shared thus far on Gemini. Take this as an invitation. A year from now, we want to have you back. We want to, hear the all of the celebration, of the success, and then what you've learned thus far, and then what's next for Gemini and this long cooperation partnership. But thanks for sharing all this. Still would love to get kind of your take on kind of pivoting a little bit to career advice for some of our listeners, just entering this industry. What kind of advice, what piece of advice have you received? But what kind of advice would you give?
I would say start building your network today. I would say that your network is your lifeblood. I mentioned at the start, it's a small community, but your network at the beginning will grow into the industry leaders of tomorrow. So the better you plant those roots today, plant the roots, water the roots, invest in the roots, and then it's going to grow into a big, beautiful network, and it's going to be amazing. And that's what I would say. But you have to be deliberate about building your network because it doesn't just happen by luck. You have to be intentional. You have to schedule time. You have to know. I tell all the teams here, because a lot of them are not super comfortable at an early stage of your career knowing what that means. And so I tell them very clearly, and I ask them, what is networking? Networking is calling someone when you don't have a purpose to call them.
Yeah.
If you call them when you have a purpose, then you're calling them because you have a need, and that is not networking.
Yep.
And then it's very easy. The key is how do you start that conversation with someone that you don't have a need to call? I don't know you very well. How do I do it? And the answer is the how question. I think the how question is the great enabler that's underutilized in industry, it's underutilized in leadership, it's underutilized in team collaboration, which is how is this impacting your business? How can we be better? How do you think we're doing? How are you doing? How do you think we can drive culture? How can I be a more important team? How can we position ourselves differently in the marketplace? How questions are open-ended questions that initialize conversation and dialogue that is something you can grow and build on. So my advice would be start building your network today, utilize how questions, and watch it grow because your reach and influence will soon exceed the levels that you think it can be.
Hear, hear.
Swipe right. Well, listen,
I'm going to go to my chat GPT, not the internal company one, and say, which way are you supposed to swipe? If you swipe right, what does that mean? So,
Wait till LinkedIn puts that feature in when you get a connection request.
Oh, right. Yeah. So Stuart, if you were not doing, what you're doing today, you weren't in supply chain at all, what would you be doing?
I don't know if I'd be successful at it, but I know I would take a hard run at it. I'd be trying to do motivational speaking.
Oh, I think you would do really well at that, Stuart. Yep. I think you're doing that now. That's a bad answer.
I'm fired up.
I was looking for like, are you a cook? Are you do you like to go glamping? Something like that.
I like all those things. I like a lot of things, but what I really like is I like imparting passion and belief in oneself and challenging people to show them that they can do more than what they think they can. That the limitations which they place on themselves can easily be lifted if you just take the courage to do so.
Yeah.
Ugh. And there's the parting comment.
Yep. Drop the mic. We're done. No, that was really good. Yeah.
I love it, and I love it, and I love it. And I think that that's one thing that leaders don't do often. And I think, this is more than you wanted to know, but I believe we normally promote the best doers into management jobs. And the challenge is when you promote the best doers into management jobs, and then the pressure goes up, what does that mean happens? The best doer goes back into doing what they do because that's what they do. So then you create micromanagers into the world as opposed to leaders. We rarely cultivate leaders to be leaders. And I think the ability to engage, inspire, and empower your team is the thing that we lack in our industry, candidly. I don't think we have a group of inspiring leaders. We have a group of good managers, but not a great group of leaders.
Yep. I love that. And KP, I'm going to throw one of the JR isms in there real quick because Stuart, what you said is exactly right. I remember early in my career, I worked for a guy at Walmart and I was in his office and he told me to go get something done. And I walked out and he's like, "Hey," I said, "get it done. Don't do it." And so he was telling me to use my team to be a leader and get those things done. And so I will never forget that. So I think what you said is spot on.
I love it. What a great, I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, do it. J.R. Campbell.
I mean, it's a super strong statement.
Yeah.
I really love it because I really don't think it. I mean, it's interesting. I've gotten 100% of our team members here have had external coaching this year. 100%. Whether they're people leaders or whether they're individual contributors, 100% of the entire organization by October will be trained again, including me. So we're flying all of our leadership team. We've had external consultants come in, a ex-Canadian national hockey coach about how to build high-performing teams and what does that mean and how do you challenge each other authentically and how do you really create a cohesive thing, not just a kumbaya circle, but really how do you create a collaboration environment where you can challenge and you can be authentic and you can voice discontent even if it's not your silo.
Yeah. 100%. I love that. Kudos to you guys.
Well, Stuart, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for we're Kev Talks is here cheering for Gemini and cheering for Hapag and for Stuart. So we really appreciate you coming on, sharing your knowledge, sharing your leadership, sharing your experiences. We thoroughly enjoyed it. We'll definitely have to have you back. But that's all for this episode of Kev Talks. And thanks again, Stuart, for joining us.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys. I really enjoyed the conversation, and congratulations on your success on your podcast. I'm really excited to see how well it is to see industry veterans really thriving, sharing knowledge and experience and vision from others. That's really great. It's a very hospitable way to give back to the community. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. Good to meet you here.
Take care, guys.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. If today's discussion inspired you, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and share our podcast.
Remember, every great journey in logistics starts with a single step forward. Let's continue working together to transform the industry.